you know someone like this? You'll be chatting to them, and all of a sudden they will interrupt and say, "Ooh, look at the lady's shoes." Or, "Oh, what a pretty flower over there." Or, "I'm sorry, but I have to say, your top is so cool." Have you seen Finding Nemo? I'm Dory. I've been distracted and absent-minded all my life. My friends got used to my scattered brain, and it's my fascination for little details and the ability to frame things with my eyes that later drove me to fall in love with photography. In fact, it's these two qualities that I use to decide what makes a good photo. One of my main influences is Japanese philosopher and amateur photographer Daisaku Ikeda. He writes, "In this hectic age, it is important for us to stop from time to time. Take a deep breath and look closely at ourselves and the world around us." Some of Ikeda's photos were taken during brief moments of rest on his travels. And just like him, I was also traveling quite often when I started doing photography. One day, I was waiting for my train connection, and I saw this amazing winter dawn. And I felt so much gratitude for being there and seeing it that I felt I had to share it with others. So I took out my mobile phone and I took a photo of it. And then later on, I discovered the macro button on my mobile phone. And I started taking pictures of little details. Flowers in street gardens, tree branches, and flowers in the tree branches. I was just fascinated. It's so much fun. And not only that, I found that these images also gave joy and made a difference in the day of the person that I share it with, my friends, my family, via email, via social media. So photography became a way to express gratitude for what I see and share positivity with others. You might think there's nothing special about this, but the truth is, for the last 14 years, I have been slowly losing my sight. So, why do I do photography if I can't see very well? Let me tell you. I have an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I call it wonky vision. What it means is that I am slowly losing the ability to see around the corner of my eyes and in dim light. So, this is how I actually see that photo. To make life even more interesting, I'm also very short-sighted and overly sensitive to light. So you see, I'm the typical blind person with dark glasses and white cane who can actually see. We do exist. Over time, my photo collection grew and grew. Photography became a way to get in touch with my creativity, to say, you know what? I can still see, and I'm grateful for it. And I've been able to take part in very interesting projects and meet lovely people thanks to this passion of mine. So I'd like to share some of my journey with you today. A couple of years ago, I started going to gigs with this friend of mine who wanted to start a What's On in the Warwickshire music scene. So she would go out, write reviews about gigs on her blog, and I would collaborate with photos. And this is how Plug and Amp, her project, was born. Soon enough, my photos started being used by artists in social media. They started appearing in newspapers. And the bands, thanks to that exposure, started taking part in festivals, signing on to PR deals, and even going on to tour on a national level. Now, if you can't see very well, going out in a dark music venue to take photos is a little bit crazy. And I have to be honest, I was terrified. I thought, I'm going to start tripping over musicians' instruments. I'm going to start walking into everybody. I'm going to get the shots wrong. It's going to be a disaster. But the little Dory voice in my head said, why don't you try this? Why don't you use the camera like that? So I found creative ways of navigating music venues, avoiding walking into people, editing images. It was good, and I'm actually quite proud with the results. And these are also a few of the bands that have got quite a bit of exposure out of Plug and Amp. It's Joe Dolman. Rosetta Fire. And Speaking in Shadows. Also, do check out Plug and Amp Music Network on Facebook. Some facts that I've been picking up researching for this talk. The link between creativity and resilience has been well studied. And resilience is the ability that we all have to recover from traumatic challenges. The author, Ruth Richards, in her book, Everyday Creativity, says, creativity is not something that only belongs to artists. We all have it, and we can express it in the way we react to our daily challenges. In fact, connecting with our everyday creativity can make us more productive, improve our quality of life, and even our health. Also, the emerging field of positive psychology recommends harnessing creativity as a way of living more happy and productive lives. This is what I feel I do with photography. I can't change the fact that I'm losing my sight, but I can change how I react to it. And I believe everyone is capable of the same in their personal situation. So, through photography, I wish to connect to the birthplace of hope in every person's life. Taking part in Plug and Amp was a lifeline for me. I was going through a very difficult time. I started having more problems with my night vision, even in familiar routes like coming back from work. And in daylight, I started walking into everything. To make matters worse, I also started having problems reading small print. So I knew it was time to take action, to consider using a white cane and look into assistive technology. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was very difficult, to the point of being signed off from work for a while. And I even thought I was not going to be able to carry on doing photography. But I did not give up. I forced myself to go out to the park and take photos, to listen to my little Dory voice and try different ways of framing and editing images, with the determination to take my work out, to give more exposure to my photography. And this year, I had my first breakthrough. In April, my work was part of A Shot in the Dark, a documentary about blind photography featuring my work along, and the work of 2 other photographers based in the Midlands. A Shot in the Dark is openly available on YouTube. And not only that, I had the opportunity to also exhibit my work alongside the work of the other 2 photographers in the launch of the film in Manchester. And I'm now really focusing on working on my passion for small details through nature and architecture photography. So these are a few of my latest. That's in Jepson Gardens. Tenerife. And Frankfurt. To finish, I would like to share a few things that I've learned through coming out of the closet as visually impaired. First of all, I'm registered legally blind. I have to use a cane. I have difficulty reading small print. But I can still see. Confusing. Huh? Well, according to the RNIB, 93% of people registered blind and partially sighted in the UK have got some vision. It's just not as good as normal vision. But we can perfectly live our lives with the use of a few adaptations. In fact, quite a few of us are very witty problem solvers. Every time I've met somebody else living with sight loss, I've learned something new. There are tricks for navigating venues, for avoiding knocking things over on the table, for dodging steps. You name it, there's a solution for it. And that's everyday creativity. In fact, you might not believe it, but I'm used to having wonky vision. I mean, I can't remember what it's like to see normally. And this surprises most people around me. For example, when I told one of my specialists that I am an amateur photographer, he was so baffled, he invited me to do a talk at the staff meeting. And it was great because they shared how it enabled them to understand what it's like to live with sight loss. And I feel this must be a practice more spread in the health service because from a personal experience, losing your sight can be a scary thing. And retinal units must be more humane places where people is treated with dignity regardless of their sight condition. I also share an article I wrote about photography with the people doing I was doing YK training with. And later on, it made it to Warwickshire Vision magazine, which support around 500 people living with sight loss in Warwickshire. When I started doing photography, I thought I was the only one, if not one of the few, visually impaired photographers. But as I later found out, there's many of us out there. And I'd like to finish by sharing some of their work with you. Tanvir Naomi Bush from the UK. Hattie Cole from the UK. Andrew Follows from Australia. And Julie Carbonell from my home country of Venezuela. Just like them, just like me, you too can turn anything around. Be creative, look at things differently. You have nothing to lose. Thank you.